All right, welcome in everybody. It is time for Total Bases. It's game one of the World Series, and I just built the stream very quickly here, so I'm going to give people a minute to find it because I'm assuming it's just popping up right now. So in the meantime, Tokyo Brandon, let's for all the people that care out there, we officially have a Korean series. We officially have a Korean series set as of a couple of minutes ago. So if you've been grinding this all season with us, all the different leagues, the Hanwha Eagles have gotten it done in Game 5 of the KBO playoffs, and they will now face the LG Twins in the Korean series. So before we get into the World Series, Tokyo Brandon, did you have any action in that game today? Were you involved at all?
I absolutely did. I had Hanwha a 5% play on Hanwha today. I thought the last game where Ponce gave up 6 runs, I thought that was kind of a aberration for him. I mean, he was 17-1 on the season with a 1.78 ERA. I mean, the guy is gold. He was not that good in Japan. He was in Japan last year or year before. He was definitely not that good. But in Korea, I've never seen a season 17-1 with a 1.78 ERA. I've never seen it. Kim Kwang-Hyun wasn't even that good when he was in his prime.
Yeah, I saw it the same way as you did, TB. I ended up with a 4% play, Hanwha -1. It was an easy win. And listen, since I've been really focused on Korean baseball, which was basically back to the pandemic. I know you've been following the league a lot longer than I have, but really 2020 was the year I got really into KBO and whatnot. I mean, the only guy I can remember even close to that was Eric Fetty a couple of years ago, where he was just like, and I actually don't even think he was as dominant as Cody Ponce was this year in KBO. So yeah, something to be said. He definitely wasn't as good as he's been all year in either of the playoff games, but I was with you. I didn't think there was any way they could do a ton of damage, and I figured probably like you did that we might see Ryan Weiss after him, and we did. So it a great start to the morning, or to great end to the night for you in Japan. We started off with a winner, so
my bet actually was also -1, just like you. I got it for -130, I think. And Choi Wan-tae was just not up to par on the same level as Cody Ponce, and I thought that line should have been like -250 for Hanwha, considering they had the much better bullpen as well, and they didn't need their bullpen, like you said. They put Ryan Weiss in, so we'll see how they do against LG. It's pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, so I want to make sort of a parallel to that game, and then a kind of like, because again, we're still talking playoff series and just in general. So I'll go back to our show on Monday. I know some folks were a little disappointed on Monday because, and I kind of watched our show back, and we didn't really give much out of substance. But I think that also speaks to how difficult it is to start betting, to bet these games the later it gets in the series. And I'll even use the Hanwha series as an example. By that game, like Game 5, now you might have thought that there was a little bit of value on Hanwha. I kind of did as well, but like really, I'm sitting there like -1, -130, -135. I think I think I ended up giving out the -135 at DraftKings, whatever it was. Point was, like, there wasn't a ton of value at that point, but like, if you like your handicap, you just kind of have to roll with it. That's sort of where I was at the end of the Jays Mariners series, where it's like, listen, we're at Game 7. The value has kind of been sucked out. We've been talking about this matchup for a week. The likelihood that you're going to really be able to find something to bet at a good number that's anything other than like flipping a coin is tough. But the nice thing is now we have a new series. So we go into Game 1 of the World Series. No one knows anything yet. We haven't seen these two teams play. And so I'm excited to talk about this game with you, Tokyo Brandon, because I think there's a lot more to unpack here than maybe there was in the Game 7. So opening thoughts. We've got Game 1. Any general thoughts about the series first, and we'll get into the breakdown of this game.
Sure. My first impression when I saw that the Blue Jays were going to start Savage I was a little surprised, because I think they started the last series with Gausman, if I'm not mistaken. And by the way, my show on Monday was probably my worst show of the entire season. I was terrible in our show, and I got to tell everyone why. The day after our show, I had to go to the tax office here because I'm being audited. So I was a little stressed out, but my audit went well. So just to let everyone know, the audit went well. They saw all my Fireball receipts, and I just explained that I'm an alcoholic. So everything was good. Anyways,
you write off the Fireball? Are you writing the Fireball off?
I write it off as a business expense because I drink it to do my capping. So yeah, heck yeah.
I mean, if they needed proof of that, TB, if they needed proof of that, they just have to watch the show.
Exactly.
You can just show them the show.
Just hold the bottles up. Yeah. So I need it to for my professional skills. So anyways, Monday, like the day after that, I had to go to the tax office and give them my taxes for the last 5 years, my pay slips for the last 5 years, and get grilled in Japanese about why I'm getting all this money from overseas. They're a little sensitive about that here.
I bet, yeah.
Since marijuana is completely illegal, and yeah, terrorists, all kinds of stuff going on. So yeah. They don't like when foreigners get a lot of cash from overseas. But anyways, that went well. So I'm back. I'm going to have a good show today. So my first impression was, if you're starting a rookie in game one, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence in your starting rotation. Because I knew that Snell was going to start game one for the Dodgers. You know, it's going to be Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Ohtani. And that I'm guessing, but I'm pretty much going to be right on that guess, I think. But the Blue Jays kind of are one of those, we saw it up to this series as well, in the divisional series as well. When teams like the Brewers don't know who they're pitching the next day, 24 hours ahead of time, good chance they're going to lose the game, and almost always did in that situation. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Toronto's starting rotation here. I think they could be in a little trouble with their starters.
Yeah. Now I'll go back to Monday for a minute, and for me, I just felt like I didn't have much to say that I hadn't already said through the first 6 games of the series, and I wish I just basically said all the same things again, because I forget that some people may have just been tuning in for that show and maybe didn't watch the first, kind of our discourse over the first sort of 6 games of the series. And that's just the challenge when you get into these 7-game series. Now, so I'll just start off before we really break down the matchup. I don't think so. Over the last, what have we had, about a week since the Dodgers clinched, and about 4 or 5 days since the matchup has been set, I don't think the Dodgers are the sort of foregone conclusion that I think maybe they were being made out to be when they, like, right after that sweep of the Brewers. I mean, you pretty much, if you listen to the quotes, you listen to most people's reaction was, doesn't matter who wins, Blue Jays, Mariners, just give it to the Dodgers, right? And hey, nothing to, I mean, Shohei Ohtani, incredible game, maybe the best game I've ever seen in individual play on the baseball diamond. The Dodgers were great in that series, but I think the point I'm going to probably harp on here, and what needs to be really, like, driven home, is it's 0-0, and this is a new matchup, right? And it's like, if you go back to that Dodgers Brewers series, let's say the Brewers get that timely hit in game 1 and beat Sasaki, and suddenly they're up 1-0 in the series. Now, I'm not saying the outcome is different, but the series could play out much differently. And I think that's the point that needs to be made, is it's a new series. This game's in Toronto. The Dodgers haven't won anything yet. And, to me, like, don't tell the Blue Jays that this isn't their World Series to win. So again, I think I'll personally be looking for ways in with the Blue Jays, because I'm just not sure the Dodgers should be as big of a favorite as they are going into the series.
For the series price, I think it was -220 or -240, something in that range. I agree. I think that's kind of ridiculous, because up to now, my opinion is that the Dodgers had an advantage over everyone they've played up to now, including the Brewers, in the 6 through 9. But this series, their advantage in the 6 through 9 hitters, not quite as big as it has been up to now. I mean, the Blue Jays can almost go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers regarding the hitting. So I think the difference in this series will be more like the bullpens and the starting rotation. Up to now, I think the Dodgers were just overpowering teams because they're 6 through 9. When Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman are cold, Hernandez can pick up the slack. Muncy can pick up some slack. And the other Hernandez can pick up some slack. So, but the Blue Jays also, if Vladdy's not hitting, there's other guys who can pick up the slack in that lineup. So I think this will be the Dodgers' biggest test for sure. And I think we do have the 2 best teams here.
Shout out to Ski Profit. I know he's a Dodgers fan. LA guy says, let's go Dodgers. Ski Profit, it's NBA season. So if you're into the NBA, you should absolutely be checking out his stuff. Great NBA, great basketball handicapper at Wager Talk. And, listen, like, I want to talk about you Savage for a second because I feel like, you're going to see a lot of the story is going to come out. I mean, we've been talking about this since May or June. Mm-hmm. Like we kind of pointed him out before he ever threw a pitch in the big leagues on this show. I feel like, we were very much ahead of that and knowing that he was going to be really good. And, he started the year at low A. Okay. And you're going to hear that constantly, like started the year at low A. Now he's pitching in the World Series. Listen, that's the new normal in baseball. That's what Schlittler would have been doing if the Yankees were here. It's probably what Connolly Early would have been doing if the Red Sox made it this far. So that to me is just like, I wouldn't look at that as like a negative. Now, I will say that like the thing with him, the reason he slipped. So let me backtrack for a second. Mm-hmm. The reason you Savage is starting game 1 and the reason that the Blue Jays are going to go with him here is very simple. He has the best stuff of anyone on that team. When you're just looking at stuff, his stuff is the best. I agree. And when you look at the Dodgers lineup, you have to look and see. You have to think like nasty stuff is what's going to beat this lineup, right? Like Gossman's a better pitcher. Chris Bassett's probably a better. Like these guys are better major league pitchers at this point, but they don't have the stuff that's going to totally wipe out a Dodgers lineup. So that, in my opinion, is why you try a Savage here in game 1. Because if that split finger's on, I'll tell you what, no one on the Dodgers is hitting it either. Yep. And it's just that simple.
Yeah, he's got a pitch that he calls a split change, and it's a really nasty pitch. And I've said it in shows before, he could call that pitch to the hitter and they still can't hit it if he's locating it properly. Yes. So I agree with you there. The thing is, he only has 14 innings of experience in Major League Baseball, and this is the World Series, and he's facing the best lineup in the league. So we're going to either see him just absolutely implode and barf on the mound, or we're going to see him have a dominating performance. That park is not a pitcher's park, though, so need to be careful here.
Yeah, though that's a really good point, because I do think that's another reason you go Savage in game 1. Because it's high risk, high reward. It's essentially exactly what you just said. High risk, high reward. If his stuff's on, if he can get some swing and miss, or like so the pitch you're talking about, that splitter, if he can throw that at the bottom of the zone, I don't care if Ohtani has 9 straight at bats. He's not hitting it. If he can throw that pitch and hit the bottom of the zone where it's borderline, it's going to be really, really tough to hit. Where he could get in trouble in this game is if the Dodgers, and this is very possible because the Dodgers may be as good at this as any team in the league. If they're really patient, if they're getting ahead in counts, suddenly they get a couple guys on base and they force him to either throw that slider so Savage throws 3 pitches. He's 4-seamer, slider, splitter. And the slider is the one that tends to leak out over the plate a little bit. And this Dodgers lineup will punish that. And that's really where it's like high risk, high reward.
Yep.
Right there.
And one thing to note, I mean, yes, he does have really good stuff, but his regular season ERA was 3.21 and his regular season WHIP was 1.43. Not very good numbers. And this park is a hitter's park. So like you said, I totally agree with you. If he's locating that split change, it's unhittable. How long can he go into the game? How long can he hold them down? And how much faith do you have in the Toronto bullpen? We could say the same thing. How much faith do you have in the Dodger bullpen with Vesia missing?
So that's let's go there, and then we'll obviously we can't leave you guys without talking about Blake Snell. We'll get to him in a minute, but I want to go to the bullpens first because Ethan says Dodgers missing Vesia could prove costly. I very much agree because you're likely replacing him with Tanner Scott, who hasn't pitched in about a month. As far as I know, so Scott had a infection that he needed to get an operation on. Also, he was just not very good. I think he probably blew more saves than like anyone in the. He was right up there with blown saves, and I don't believe he's pitched since the end of the regular season. Or maybe he pitched in game 1. Maybe he pitched against the Reds. I'd have to go back and look at that, but he's been out for like 3-4 weeks at this point. He's likely the guy that's going to replace Vesia on the roster. That to me is a downgrade.
Very much.
I think the Blue Jays, and I've been critical about the Blue Jays bullpen, Tokyo Brandon. I think the Blue Jays have the better bullpen here. You look at Jeff Hoffman. He struggled during the regular season. He's sort of gotten it together in the playoffs. I don't think either of these bullpens is top notch, but right now I think the Blue Jays have the better group of guys that I'd rather have in a game, and they're home here. So who are you giving the bullpen edge to in this game? Maybe not the series, because Vesia could be back by game 3, but this game tonight.
I think it's a push, and I'll tell you,
That's fair.
Aside from Hoffman, none of the Blue Jay bullpen guys have a whip under 1.2. So to me, that's a little scary. And I don't have a lot of faith in the Dodgers bullpen either. I've been watching Sasaki since his 3 years in Japan. He was injured off and on, so he only pitched actually one real full season in Japan, but he cracks under pressure. Now, they put him at closer, and he's been doing okay, but in his last start at closer against the Brewers, he was shaky.
Yeah.
He was putting guys on base. He lost his control a little, and mentally he's not like rock solid like normal Japanese pitcher like a Darvish or Kuroda when Kuroda was pitching in MLB. Those guys mentally are rock solid. He's not. So, and Yamamoto wasn't either last year. Yamamoto has put it together this year, but Sasaki has a little mental, I don't say mental instability. I don't mean he's got mental issues. I mean, he cracks under pressure is what I mean.
I want to go back and just backtrack with Sasaki a little bit, because that's a great point. And if people will forget, he didn't close that game out. He got taken out of that game. It was Trinan that ended up getting the last out. And listen, I think Churio hit a ball hard that ended up turning into a sacrifice fly to make it 2-1. I mean, that ball could have gone anywhere. If that ball finds grass, the Brewers are winning that game. So it's like he was very fortunate to not give that game up. And then if you talk about Sasaki now, I think it was earlier this season where he definitely had confidence issues as a starter, and then he got hurt, right? Like that's sort of what happened with him. He did cry. Yeah.
He actually cried, but give him a break, because that was, I think, his MLB debut or his second start,
second or third,
and he got crushed. I forgot who it was, maybe the Padres. Someone just crushed him, and he actually was like teary-eyed in the bench, and he got a lot of flack for that. That never happened to him in Japan, because he was a stud here. In Japan, hitters are not Major League Baseball hitters. So yeah, he faced a lot of scrutiny, and he faced a lot of pressure, and he cracked under it. He almost cracked against the Brewers. So he's not the most stable. And now that you bring up Trinan, a lot of hitters around the league. What? That
Trinan, I know. I figured you were going to have a whole segment dedicated to how bad he is or has been.
Well, Scott's been worse than Trinan, but Trinan's been injured a lot of the season. Yeah. But a lot of people in the Dodgers and around MLB say that Trinan has the best stuff of anyone in the Dodgers rotation or bullpen.
Yeah, when he's
on. But he hasn't been on this season. So will he or will he not be? And now that we bring Trinan and Scott replacing Vesia, actually, I might agree with you that the Blue Jays have an advantage in the bullpen here, maybe a slight one.
Well, this is where I feel like home field might play for the Dodgers a little bit, because you talk about like, okay, so now Vesia, we know he's not playing. So take him out. Trinan's been shaky at the end of games. It feels to me like right now the Dodgers, at least everything I'm reading, they're kind of committed to Sasaki being the closer. And it's like he's 23 years old. It's his first year in the U.S. He had issues with underperforming early in the year. If you go back to his season, the reason he was in the bullpen in the first place was because during his rehab, I don't think they were thrilled with how his rehab went when he was coming back from injury. And they kind of were like looking and they're like, all right, like right around the same time, I think Snell, their starting rotation was starting to take shape. And I think they looked and said, I don't know if we really trust him in the starting rotation right now. And they had, so they had moved him back to the bullpen. That was part of his rehab. They had him coming out of the pen in Oklahoma City. And I think they just kind of said, well, let's keep it going and see if he succeeds out of the bullpen. It's very important to note that most of his bullpen appearances in the minors and then toward the end of the season weren't in the closer role. They were kind of these like long relief type roles. And even going back to like the Philly series, I think that's kind of how they used him, if going off memory, kind of 2-3 innings. I know he pitched in game 4, which was the game that the Phillies ended up losing in extra innings on that play at the plate. And that was a tie game. But listen, that was in Dodger Stadium, and they had a 2-1 lead in the game. This is going to be on the road. That crowd was unhinged for Game 7 in Toronto. I don't know that I fully want to be at the end of the game with the Dodgers on the road with that guy on the mound. And then if they take him out, it's Trinan who's had trouble in those spots as well this year. So, yeah, I give the Blue Jays a bullpen edge. Go ahead.
I actually will too. I said that none of the Blue Jays have a whip under 1.2 except for one. The Dodgers, man, is Kopech going to be here? He's got a 1.8 whip. Trinan's got a 1.7 whip. And Tanner Scott, who has looked like absolute garbage, has a 1.2 whip. Sasaki has a 1.4 whip. So, yeah. What are you going to rely on, Kirby Yates? I mean, yeah, they do have bullpen problems. I think a lot of these games are going to be going over. The Dodgers, I think, have a rotation advantage because if Ohtani is going to be pitching 5 innings as the 4th starter, that's a heck of a weapon you have as a 4th starter. It's kind of like Bryan Wu for the Mariners being their 3rd starter. That's like a serious weapon you got there. Glasnow is number 3. Glasnow's been shaky, but he's a veteran. He can hold things down. I think he's even if he's shaky, he doesn't like throw up on the mound. He rarely gives up a 6 burger or something like that. He might give 3 earned runs, which is a bad start for Glasnow. But are you going to rely on Max Scherzer if you're the Blue Jays? How many innings is Scherzer going to get you? He had a great start his last one, and I actually backed him in that start. I took the Blue Jays and Max Scherzer in the first 5, and I won that. But is that someone you want to rely on? He comes up in big games, but for how long? So rotation, Dodgers huge advantage. Bullpen, I would agree with you. Blue Jays probably have an advantage there.
So Christian, I'll answer this question. So Christian says Scott is not eligible. I don't think they. So here's what the roster. Here's the deal with the roster. I researched this a little bit before coming on. I think they have until. I haven't seen the graphic on Twitter yet. So usually once the roster is finalized, which I think needs to happen early today, I think they have until like early today to actually like submit the roster. I know that we mostly know what it's going to be. I have not seen either team post their graphic yet. So I'm assuming they still have to like, I think with the ALCS and the other series, it's like maybe like it's usually the morning of is when they'll put out the official here's what the roster is. I do think Scott has said that he is good to go. So the reason you haven't seen Scott in the playoffs is because he had an operation done. Well, no, but he also had like a cyst removed or like something weird like that. He had like a little like operation on something that was infected. He says he's fine. Now, Alex Vesia is going to be, here's what they're going to allow the Dodgers to do. They are going to put him on the roster, and then he's going to likely be able to use the emergency family leave stipulation, which I think means you have to leave the team for a minimum. David says 1 p.m. Yeah, that sounds right. I was going to say like 1 p.m. sounds right. So what they're going to do is Vesia will be on the World Series roster. He'll be able to use the family emergency sort of leave thing, which I believe means you have to leave the team for a minimum of 3 days. And then they'll have an alternate, which I'm guessing will be Scott, right? So it's like, so Vesia effectively will be out for game 1 and game 2. I believe he'll be eligible to come back for game 3, but doesn't have to. I think he can stay out for up to 7 days. So that's kind of how that's going to work out. And I do believe you see Tanner Scott on the roster because he said that he's good to go. And I don't think they have. And to answer your point about Kopech, I don't believe he's had knee inflammation. He's been out since mid-September. I think his season is likely done. So I don't think you see him out there.
Okay. The Dodgers do have some nice middle relief, though, in Banda, Kasparius, and Dreyer. Those are decent middle relief guys. And they also have Sheehan, if he's available, who has performed well for a spot starter. They won't need spot starters for the World Series, but spot starters can be used for 3 innings of middle relief. So what do you think about the middle relief?
Talk to me about like, here's what burned me once. I made one bet in that Brewers series on the Brewers and I lost. And the thing that kind of burned me in that game was part of my angle was hoping to play against some of these Dodgers bullpen guys. And the Dodgers never needed to use their bullpen. How likely is that with Blake Snell on the mound here?
Yeah, like, it's interesting because Roberts, Dodgers have the worst manager in MLB. So he learned, he made the mistake once by pulling his starter early in game 1. They barely got by. And you notice how he used his starters after that. He left them in for 6 innings almost every single game, right? He even left Ohtani in for 6 innings, right? I think it was 6. So I think Dave Roberts learned his lesson from game 1. And I give him credit because normally he doesn't learn his lesson and he stays stupid, but he taught himself not to be stupid. Incidentally, Blake Snell's over under outs is 17.5. So the books think he's either going to finish 6 innings or 1 out short over under. So I think Dave Roberts will leave his starters in as long as possible, especially with Vesia out.
So I think, so here's the thing with the books saying that to me, that number to me tells me that the books think that the Blue Jays can put together at bats against him, because even though Snell is awesome. And like, you go back to that last game or the last start he made against the Brewers. I think Roberts probably puts him out for the 9th inning if they don't get the extra run. I don't think Dave Roberts would have put Sasaki in a 1-0 game. I think it would have probably let Snell go back out there. The Dodgers, after they tacked that run on, I think he was like, well, I definitely don't want to bring Sasaki into an inning where there's already runners on base. But like going back to that line, like that line right there, which I didn't know until you just brought up, that makes me like the Blue Jays because Vegas is saying, well, we think he's going to clock in right around 6 innings. And the reason for that is this Blue Jays lineup has great at-bats 1 through 9. There's no bad at-bat in this lineup. And
that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is the best lineup the Dodgers have faced. They haven't faced a team that can challenge them 6 through 9.
Well, and even if it's Snell, like, are you, if you're Dave Roberts and you're the Dodgers, like, how are you dying to have Vlad get a 3rd look at Snell, right? Springer get a 3rd look at Snell.
But I'd rather him face Snell than Kasparius.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you can sort of force them into that decision in the 6th or 7th inning, at some point, the Dodgers are probably going to have it. What you're banking on if you're betting the Blue Jays is 2 things. One, Savage has his good stuff, because if he doesn't and you fall in like a 3-0 hole, see, this is also very, very important in terms of betting this game. If Savage doesn't have his good stuff, the Dodgers score early and then they fall into a little bit of a hole. As the Blue Jays, you almost have to you almost have to manage with game 2 in your head. Like I'm not saying that you're going to just wave the white flag, but you have to start sort of managing resources for the next game. Like, and then just hope that your offense like somehow goes off because like let's say the Blue Jays find themselves in a 3-0 hole because Savage puts a couple guys on and then someone hits a 3-run bomb. Well, now you almost have to look like if I'm Schneider, I'm like, I might just take Savage out because I need to have 3 chances with Savage. That's another reason he's starting game 1. I need to have 3 chances with Savage to have his best stuff. Meaning, if it's here, then it's his game, and we got to ride and we got to try to win game 1. If it's not here and he walks a couple guys, I got to get him out of there because I'm probably going to need to try him in game 4 because you're just not likely to beat this Dodgers team going like Scherzer, Gausman, Bassett. Like one of them might have a good game, but the likelihood that the 3 of those can hold up against this lineup is slim. So that's something I would look for. And that might be an in-game angle. Like if you see Savage get in trouble or he doesn't have it, and then they go down a little bit, this could get ugly because you might see the Blue Jays use just their back end guys in hopes that they can come back tomorrow and then, stack the good relievers. So that is like something to look out for in this game. It's really going to be reliant on how Savage pitches those first couple innings, in my opinion.
Savage's out prop is 14.5. So the book is asking you, will he or will he not finish 5 innings? He has
if
never.
If he has his good stuff, he will. If he has his good stuff, he will. I'm confident.
He's never finished 6 innings in his MLB career. I'm sure in the minors, you've seen him in the minors. You said he went deep, but single A is like playing against high school kids. So he's never in the playoffs. They're stretching him a little further. He's pitched into the 6th inning, but he's never finished it. So Schneider left him in for the 6th inning 2 times in the postseason. So that's something to consider. I'm not touching his outs props because I have no idea if he's going to be on or not, if the Dodgers can touch him or not. So I really don't know what to expect there. His strikeouts prop is 5.5, which I think is really high. Snell's is 6.5, which I think is also kind of high. So, but Savage has an 11 K per 9 rate, and the Dodgers strike out 8 K per 9. So if he goes 5 innings, he might get those 6 strikeouts. So speaking of props, but I have no idea if Savage is going to go deep or not. I do know he's not going to finish. Well, I don't know. I would not expect him to finish 6 innings because he never has in 14 innings of his career.
David Edgington says, what does Roberts do if Snell gives up early runs? The answer is nothing. It's Snell's game. He's just going to leave him in. That's the thing. Like the Dodgers have the luxury of the far deeper rotation. Tokyo Brandon already pointed that out earlier. It's not even close. The Dodgers rotation is so much better. And they are probably the best. I mean, you shouldn't write the Blue Jays off, but like the Dodgers are the better team. So like, you're not going to see if Snell gives up early runs, it's just going to be business as usual. He'll probably get his 100 pitches in. They'll go to the lesser bullpen guys and they'll regroup to go to game 2. The Dodgers can win this series just with their usual going Snell, Yamamoto, whoever's next, whatever order they want to use. The Blue Jays are the team that's going to have to get creative, in my opinion. So I don't think that's going to do anything. I don't think if Snell gives up early runs, they're just going to let him settle in. And that's the other thing with Snell. You kind of have to. I feel like you have to get him early. That's when you can get Snell. If not, once he settles in, he's going 7, and he's probably going to give up nothing. So
it's kind of a tale of 2 different managing necessities here. Dave Roberts has to leave his starters in longer. He has to. I think game 1 of the last series taught him when he had, I think, a 3-0, 4-0 lead. Took Snell out early. Thought, this is in the bag. And the bullpen just gacked it away immediately. So he learned his lesson. And since that game, he's left his starters in almost 6 innings, I think, almost every game. On the other hand, the Blue Jays, can you rely on Max Scherzer to go 6 innings? I realize his last start he did, and he was awesome. But can you rely on that every start from him? I don't know. I love Max Scherzer. I think he's great. He's an older guy. He's like a Verlander. So can you rely on 6 innings from him against the Dodgers? I don't think so. So the Blue Jays, like you said, are going to have to be creative. they're going to have to use middle relief a lot more than the Dodgers do. I think Dave Roberts learned his lesson. He's scared to use his bullpen. So I think the over on that Snell 17.5 would be a decent bet, although I haven't played it.
I don't think he's scared to use his bullpen as much as it's just like hit the strength of the pitching staff is clearly the starting pitching. So why would you even do that to yourself, right? Like,
what's the alternative?
Whereas like the Blue Jays, like if you are really asking for it, if you let this Dodgers lineup see Scherzer for a third time, Bassett for a third time. So like Gossman's probably earned the right a little bit more at this point. But like
Gausman's the one guy who can go long in that rotation. Yeah.
Right, but it's like, I mean, he's still like, it's not like his stuff's so good that you would, I still would be very, very concerned giving like letting him, especially a right-handed pitcher, go Ohtani, Freeman that third time through the order. Like and you see, David says Schneider learned his lesson too. No little, like that's Agreed. The other thing with the Blue Jays. There's a couple of good arms down there, but there's pretty much since Yimi Garcia got hurt, which was early July, in my opinion, they don't the wipeout arm. There's two. It's Savage, who they're now using as a starter, and it's Louis Varland. And you pretty much, if you're Schneider and you're the Blue Jays, you have to pray that those two guys have their best stuff. That's all you. That literally is it. John Schneider went to bed last night, TB, saying his prayers. Please have Trey Savage have his best stuff, because if he doesn't, we're not winning this game. Like it's just that simple. And so for me as a bettor, the way I look at it is this: I see value on the Blue Jays in at least in these first couple games at home. And it goes back to what we said earlier in the series or earlier in the show. I wouldn't mind getting the Blue Jays on their home field, maybe in a situation late in the game where they've got Sasaki on the mound, or maybe they have a lead and I've got the +1.5. It's currently -130. The upside to that bet is if Trey Savage has his good stuff and he goes, see, that's the thing. Schneider's going to ride him here if he has his good stuff and he has a lead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like if so if his stuff's just if he's just mowing dudes down because that splitter's working and he's putting it where he wants it, like the upside is tremendous. So that's the way I'll be playing this. It's either going to be Blue Jays +1.5 or pass for me here. Mm-hmm. It's -130. I kind of am going to wait. I'm kind of hoping the Dodgers money shows up at some point and knocks that down a little bit. That's the way I would play it. But again, I'm sitting here telling you that's the way I would play it. But man, like there's things that could happen where I could be down 8-1 and I just have to say, all right, on to game 2.
I think I like Gausman maybe more than you. I equate Gausman to Glasnow. It's kind of like a solid guy. You're not really sure what you're going to get every outing, but it's probably going to be pretty decent. It's kind of, and then I kind of equate Scherzer to Ohtani. I understand Ohtani has more talent, but they're two guys who could get pulled kind of early, but they have electric stuff. So I kind of equate those guys. And then it goes to Snell versus Savage. Well, Snell obviously has more pedigree. Savage only has 14 innings in Major League Baseball. And then second starter Yamamoto is going to definitely be better than Bassett. So I just think the Dodgers have the better rotation here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. What I will say is that this is also how I will be watching this game. Like, whether I have action or not, the way I will be watching this is so. And we can talk about this game because we're not going to have a show tomorrow, so we can touch on this for a minute. I'm thinking that it's probably Gausman in game 2 up against Yamamoto.
I agree.
Probably.
I was surprised Gausman wasn't game 1, but yeah.
So if I can't convince myself to do it today, what I will likely hope for is a scenario, regardless of who wins, where the Blue Jays don't use Louis Varland tonight. Now, if I bet the Blue Jays tonight, I want them to use everyone they possibly can to get that win. But the way I would kind of like the Blue Jays tomorrow in game 2 is, let's say the Dodgers come out and roll tonight, win 7-1. It's over early. Snell's kind of on cruise control, and the Blue Jays don't really have to use any of their bullpen guys. Going back to your point, I do like Gausman as well. So David says in the chat, Gausman games 2 and 6 makes sense. I agree with that. If I had Gausman tomorrow, and you would have to think like, okay, looking at where the game is priced today, you're probably going to get similar prices tomorrow with Yamamoto on the mound. Yamamoto and Snell are in that same sort of category. Gausman, yes. I think they'll price him similar to their pricing your Savage here. Maybe even a little bit more value tomorrow, especially if the Blue Jays lose here.
Maybe
if I could get Gausman, yeah, for the plus 1.5. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
If I could get
Yamamoto definitely will have the edge with the books. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure.
If I could get Gausman, I knew he was going to be followed by Varland tomorrow, that would be the setup I'd probably be looking for the Jays.
Good value. Yeah. So actually, if the Jays are going to lose game 1, to build on your point, it's in their best interest to get smashed.
Yeah, or
not a close game.
Right. Or to
if they get smashed, they can just throw Little out there and let him give up 6 runs like he always does. So and not care. Right.
And that is my concern.
Let your Savage get hammered for 6 innings and then throw Little out there to give up 6 more. Right.
That is my main concern, and the reason I haven't bet this yet, because I don't even think they need to get smashed to do that, TB. And I'll tell you why. I think that the Blue Jays are likely using guys like Little or like the back end of their pen, even if it's like 3-1, even if it's 4-1, because I think that Schneider has to manage it with the mindset that, all right, if I have a lead or if I'm tied, I've got to go for it. I've got to try to win. Even if I'm down 3-1, like, it's not to say that they're not playing to win, but he has to manage with like, hey, if Vladdy or Springer gets into one and all of a sudden we're tied or take the lead, that's awesome. And we'll sort of revert course, if you will. But if they're trailing, I just don't think the Blue Jays have enough resources to justify using any of their good resources here. If they're trailing, that's the tough part about backing the Jays in game 1. I almost feel like you need to be tied or in the lead, or that plus 1.5 probably doesn't hold up.
Instead of strategizing, they're more like hoping.
Well, no, guys, it's like, yes, but that is part of the strategy, because you have to, because you're looking and saying, okay, do we have a better chance to win trying to come back against Snell and the Dodgers with all this rest? Or do we have a better chance to win with Gausman backed by our best relievers in game 2 against Yamamoto? That's what they're going to say to themselves.
Don't get us wrong. We're not saying that the Blue Jays don't have a chance in game 1. We're just saying if it's a grinded out 2-2 game that goes to 12 innings, it's definitely Dodgers' advantage.
No, I disagree. That was where I would like the Blue Jays. If it's like, if the Jays are tied, here's the thing. If the Jays are tied in this game, even if they're down 1, I think they're probably in total grind out mode. I think Schneider would go all in on that, especially if it's tied. Maybe not down 1, but if he has a lead or if he's tied, he will go all in. But if they're down 3-1, he's probably going to put the back end bullpen guys in, because he knows that he's just going to try to buy himself time. And then if Little or someone like that gets blown up, it's going to be like, all right, we'll see you tomorrow, right? We'll see you tomorrow. We'll have our best guys behind Gausman. We'll try to get to LA 1-1. So that is like, that's the thing. And that when you're talking about betting a plus 1.5, you kind of like, it's harder to justify betting the plus 1.5 if you know that the second you go down 3 runs, that a team might wave the white flag. And again, I want to make this very clear, because I know there's someone out there. This is the World Series. I'm not saying that they're not trying their absolute hardest, but it's resource management. Schneider is going to have to save his best guys to put behind Gausman to give them a chance to win a game at home. That's the predicament you get yourself in.
Guys, don't forget that Wager Talk lets us price our MLB plays, anything except a 5% play, at $9 for the rest of the season. So go to wagertalk.com and take a look at what Adam, I, and Bryan have available in MLB, because everyone's focusing on football right now. Only Adam and I could talk about one game for 45 minutes, and we're probably going to go longer because Bryan's not here. So there's so much to break down, though, because I really like this matchup, because in my opinion, like I said at the beginning of the show, I think the Blue Jays pretty much the only team that can go toe to toe with the Dodgers lineup wise, and they're not quite toe to toe with them, but they're almost there. So, you got other guys like Springer and Bichette and stuff. I mean, they're equal or better than Teoscar Hernandez or Max Muncy. So I think the Blue Jays have a real shot if it's a like a war of runs. I think the Blue Jays can go toe to toe with them, which I did not think the Brewers could, and I definitely didn't think Cincinnati could either. So this is a good matchup. I like this matchup because the Jays have an advantage in the bullpen, as we talked about, and man, the Dodgers bullpen is just decimated right now. I mean, are they going to put Kirby in the game, or is he off the roster? I mean, Kirby's been awful as well. I mean, Kasperius, and they got a couple of middle relievers who are okay, but I mean, the reliable guys, man, when they got Scott from, what was it, San Diego, and they got Kirby, you're thinking, wow, this bullpen is stacked, and all those guys have barfed completely. So I expect a lot of runs in this series. It's going to be an exciting series. So and the Joe Park is not a pitcher's park. It's definitely a hitter's park.
So the way we'll finish this show up, I think, so David says game 2 analysis. I think the way we'll finish up this show is any bets you would make in game 1, just throw them out there, and then what you would look to do in game 2, or like, it's really, so David, I'll say this. I can't give you game 2 analysis without knowing what happens in game 1. Like, it's just not the way I would ever bet. So my game 2 analysis is very simple. I'm looking for a spot to play the Blue Jays. The two things I think make sense today, and I think there's some correlation here, is Savage over his outs prop and Blue Jays plus 1.5. Because I think for the Blue Jays to cover plus 1.5 in this game, Savage has to pitch well. If Savage does not pitch well, he is likely not hitting his outs prop, and the Blue Jays are likely not covering the plus 1.5 in this game. So I think there's some correlation there. I have absolutely no interest on the total whatsoever because I just don't even know how you handicap a total for this game. It could be 9-1, it could be 2-1, it could be 4. Like there's just too many different things that could happen in the way this game could play out, where I want no part of an over or under 7.5. So my bet, if I was to give a best bet, and probably if you see a baseball play up for sale for me today, you'll know what it is. It would be Blue Jays plus 1.5. And I would be willing to roll the dice with Savage pitching well. So if you don't like the Blue Jays run line, don't like the plus 1.5, you don't see me put up a play, then, if you want a little prop, little action on the game, I think Schneider's going to ride with Savage as long as he's got his good stuff. So maybe the over makes sense. And to touch on game 2 analysis, I already pretty much gave you my roadmap. If the Blue Jays don't use their best relievers, and I can get Gossman with the better relievers tomorrow, and I can get plus 1.5 in a playable range, that will be my play. So that's my game 2 analysis. And now I'll go over to TV if you want to sort of give what you're looking to do in the first couple games of the series.
Yeah, this is how much of a professional I am. I have 2 plays on today's game 1, but you guys probably don't know what they are, even though I broke this game down for 45 minutes without them. But anyways, go to wagertalk.com, see what we got. Our MLB plays are $9 if they're not 5%. And I do have a free play in EuroLeague that's out on wagertalk.com right now too. So go check that out. Game 2, I believe it will be Yamamoto versus Gausman. And I believe both of those pitchers are capable of going 6 innings. So I think we'll see a lot less bullpen usage in game 2. And I would go look at Gausman has pretty good stats against the Dodgers in his career. And Yamamoto, I expect him to have decent stats against the Blue Jays in game 2. So I think game 2 should be lower scoring than game 1 because 2 pitchers that can go rather deep into the game will be starting. Game 1, I really don't know how deep Savage is going to go. Like I said, he has 14 innings of Major League Baseball experience, and he's never finished 6 innings in his career. However, the World Series can bring out the amazing souls of people, and they tend to do amazing things, or they tend to absolutely explode. So we'll see how Savage performs today. I'm looking forward to it. If he
I'll answer
locates
David.
his change split, or what is it called, a change splitter or
Like,
whatever he calls it, if he
It's a
locates
split.
that
Yeah.
pitch, if he locates that pitch, he's going to pitch 5 innings.
Yeah, I mean, if like it's like if you go to Pitching Ninja, Rob Friedman, great account on Twitter, who shows like overlays of pit. He's all about pitching. He's kind of pointed out like if he's able to hit the bottom of the zone with that pitch, there's pretty much no one on planet Earth that's doing much of anything with it. Problem
He
is,
could call it. He could
right. The
call
problem
it.
is it's a pitch that moves a ton, and there's almost like a splitter, as you know, like if it's up a little bit, it's suddenly it's not as good of a pitch. If it's too far down where hitters can identify it, then he's getting behind in the counts, and you can't that pitch doesn't really work if you're behind in the count, because more likely than not it's going to be a ball. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's more likely than not it's going to finish either just outside of the zone. It's really difficult to nail the spot with that pitch. That's why it's like, it's a little bit different than like, well, if he's locating his heater, like, yeah, a lot of these guys can locate a four seamer. Much tougher to do that with a pitch that moves like that pitch does. But yeah, Friedman will be tweeting that out all day. So take a look at his account on Twitter. He posts a lot of good stuff with pitching. David, what do you do if the Jays win game one? Well, it's not that simple. How did they win game one? Did they tee off on Snell and suddenly it's 8-1 Jays and they just coasted? Because if that's the case, you'll probably have a decent opportunity to come back with the game with the Jays in game two. That being said, did the books overreact? If the Jays win big, suddenly is there no value to do so? That's the tough question. That's why it's virtually impossible to give a actual handicap for game two, because we need to see how this game plays out. There's just too many different things that could happen that would alter the way, at least me personally, that I would look at game two. So it's really how it happens. And I can't even say that I would look to do one thing or another. The reason I say I'm looking for a spot to bet the Blue Jays is I think the Blue Jays is where the value is right now. And so that's why I'm sort of looking that way. If the Jays come out here and tee off and it's 8, and they win the game 7-0, maybe the value in this series changes and I have to start looking in the other direction.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Savage performs. Young guy, rookie, 14 innings of experience. Is the World Series pressure going to get to him? So far in the postseason, he's been solid mentally. A lot of people don't think about this, but a lot of pitching is mental, your mental state. I mean, you have to have the ability, but a lot of pitching is a mental state. Which pitch you're going to throw here? Are you going to challenge someone? You get 3 balls and no strikes. Do you have the testicular fortitude to throw a fastball right at the middle against Vladdy or Bichette? So a lot of things are mental. So how does a rookie handle that mental game when he's getting grinded by the best lineup in MLB, facing Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, Muncy? I mean, that's a grind for a pitcher. How does a rookie handle that? I really look forward to seeing that. Game 2, though, I do think Gausman and Yamamoto both have the ability to go 5 or 6 innings, though. So I think we'll see less bullpen in game 2.
I think the first couple batters of this game are so important. Like, if you're Savage and you come out and dot a couple corners against Ohtani and Freeman and have a clean first inning, I mean, that's, to me, it's you're gonna know. I really truly believe you're gonna know in the first inning. And that goes to the point of, I think it was a David in the chat, I'll play live over 6.5. Well, listen, that's not a terrible angle. I'll tell you right now, if the Blue Jays fall behind early in this game, it's probably going to go over. Now, I wouldn't take a bad number, but let's say it's like 2-0 early, like, or something like that. I don't know what that's going to do to the live over, but like, or if listen, you might have to get a little, you might have to take a chance, but like, let's say suddenly there's a bunch of base runners on, or maybe he gets out of a jam or something. If the Blue Jays fall behind in this game, I think it's going to get out of, I think you're going to have some runs at the end of the game that are just like, like 2-0 could turn into like 7-2. So I don't
Yeah.
totally disagree with David. I think if the Blue Jays have a lead and they're not hitting Savage, it's far more likely to end under, right? End 2-1. So that would
Here's
be how I would do that.
one more thing I'm going to be looking for as far as live betting is concerned. Does Ohtani get on base in his first at bat? Now, if Ohtani gets on base, you got a guy on first base with no outs. You're facing murderer's row here, and you're a rookie with 14 innings of experience. You got to be thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this game already? So if he puts Ohtani on base, the first at bat, it'll be interesting to see how he pitches out of that, because Ohtani is one of the best base stealers. He had a 50-50 season last year. The Dodgers might be pretty aggressive against a rookie pitcher. And if Ohtani gets walked on his first at bat and steals second base, this rookie, how is he going to respond? It's going to be very interesting. I look forward to it. But if he responds poorly to that, Katie bar the door. I bet the Dodgers team total over in live betting for sure.
So the key for that, and it depends on how the Dodgers structure their lineup. I'm assuming. So if they may flip around 3 and 4, like who it's going to be. Sometimes Freeman it hits third, sometimes he hits fourth. Like if Ohtani gets on, it's going to be like Betts would be the best matchup for Savage. Like that would be a like what I consider a good matchup. So if it goes Ohtani, Betts, Smith, Freeman, I'm not saying that's what it's going to be, but that's what they used. That was the lineup.
Freeman, Hernandez is what it's been most of the time, but I could be wrong.
Let me go back to the last lineup they had against a right-handed pitcher, because they used a slightly. Let's see what they used against Mizorowski. Hold on.
I think it was Ohtani, Betts, Freeman.
It was Ohtani, Betts, Smith, Freeman was the lineup for the Dodgers in Game 3 and Game 4 of the series.
I stand corrected.
I would trust. You need Savage to get Freeman and Betts or one of those two.
Yes, you do.
If they let's say all of a sudden it's first and second, one out, and Freddie Freeman's up. That might be where you live bet and try to front run the damage, because that's probably what would happen. Yeah. That would be tough.
I'm just going to be. I really look forward. If Ohtani gets on in his first at bat, how does Savage react to that? Because Ohtani could steal second. I mean, they could be aggressive and say, let's make this rookie sweat.
Yeah,
and Ohtani can steal bases better than anyone. His legs are longer than a giraffe. So,
if you're live betting, what you should be looking for is especially in that first at bat against Ohtani, how does he attack him? Does he go right after him? Because that's what I want to see, as someone that would be backing the Jays, backing Savage, or on the flip side, someone that would want to potentially go against him. How does he attack Ohtani in that first at bat? Does he come right after him and say, yeah, like my best stuff against yours? Or is he nibbling? And then does he fall behind? I'd almost rather see, if I'm like someone that wants the Blue Jays, I'd almost rather see Ohtani hit 450 off of him, one pitch, and be down 1-0 with the Savage having gone after him, than a scenario where he nibbles and runs the count 3-1, 3-2, and then throws a non-competitive pitch and puts him on first base.
Totally agree with you. And that's what I mean about a lot of pitching is mental. A lot of these great pitchers have just as good a stuff as an average pitcher, but the mentally they use it well. That's why Trevor Bauer was so good, because mentally he didn't have the best stuff. His fastball only was 92 or something. He didn't have the best stuff in the world, but mentally he was one of the best pitchers I've ever seen. Guys like Matt Scherzer, they just blow it by you. But there are pitchers who are smart and have above average stuff, and they're excellent pitchers, right? So I agree with you. And I have a feeling, being a rookie in his first World Series, Game 1 in your hands, I have a feeling we're going to see him nibble and get into trouble. And if we do, bet the Dodgers team total over right away. What interesting though, the Dodgers team total was 4.5, which I thought was really high, which is kind of suspicious too.
You can get Dodgers team total over juiced around -135, -140, 3.5 right now. So Dodgers team total over 3.5 is -140. And again, it really depends on what live options that you have. I don't disagree with the thought process there. Like, and again, I don't know if I'll get to the window with the Jays or not, but I think that's a great way to look at it. Is I'd really be watching how he attacks Ohtani and go from there, because again, you're just not going to get away with nibbling you're just not going to get away with nibbling against this Dodgers lineup, putting a couple guys on and then hoping you get the inning-ending double play. That happened a lot against the Mariners in that series. It's just not going to happen against this Dodgers lineup. Like, you're more likely to be down 3-0 if you do that. So that's what I'd be looking at.
You have no breathing room here. Someone says you're seething that I keep interrupting you. I didn't notice I was interrupting you. But
I don't think you're interrupting. It's tougher.
We're just bouncing back and forth, you know?
Yeah, and it's much tougher to do a two-man show, because it's like when we've got Bryan here and we've got the trio, we kind of have a little bit of an order that we typically talk in. Whereas it's like if it's two of us, it's just us kind of going back and forth, winging it to an extent. But we made it an hour. I think I don't think we've really left any stone unturned at this point. You pretty much know what I'm looking at today and tomorrow. TB has given out a bunch of stuff. I think you have a couple plays up for sale.
I do in this. I do. And you probably don't know what they are from what I said, which is cool.
Yeah, but
yeah,
you know
$9
what? They're $9.
Yeah, $9 MLB plays for anything but a 5%. Just won a 5% tonight, 9-3, 5% run. So Adam and I both cashed on the Hanwha Eagles tonight. That was kind of easy money, in my opinion. That was kind of easy money. I mean, Ponce, no way should Ponce be a minus 130 under any circumstance at -1.
Yeah, that was that kind of just
easy
it
money.
took me four games to make money in that series. Like I pretty much had Hanwha like -1 the whole time. Ridiculous push in game one. They had a 9-6 lead going into the ninth inning, and so I think I was 1-1-1, and I just said it's game 5. I fully expected Hanwha to win this series. I've just gotta. It is what it is. I'm going to lay the -130. And yeah, in hindsight, when you think about getting Ponce, getting Weiss, Hanwha at home, -1, -130 was probably better than it should have been. No,
I kept betting unders in that series. So I'm like you. I kept losing money on this series until tonight. So but unders were not the way to go, as every game was like 14 runs.
I think every game went over. Every game in the series went over.
Given the fact that Hanwha has one of the best rotations and one of the best bullpens, that kind of surprised me. But I had Samsung, the #1 hitting team, so I shouldn't be betting unders. So there's me right. We'll see how LG does against Hanwha. But like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing Savage. How is he gonna crack? Is he gonna attack? Is he gonna nibble? If he nibbles, he's in trouble. You can't nibble against these guys.
Well, by the next time we see each other, we will know the answers to those questions, at least through the first two games in this series. The schedule for total bases the rest of the way. Any weekday that there is a World Series game, we will have a show. That means next week we're going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, if they're still playing. So we'll see. I hope they are. I hope we're still doing a show on Friday. That means this series has gone to 6 games, and it was a worthwhile watch. But we'll see. Enjoy the games this weekend. Hopefully you find a way to cash. Check out both of our pages for plays, and we'll see you guys Monday morning.